let's get straight to the point.
Alright, let's go.
The prompts for this analysis are going to be to examine the interaction of different options picked by both of these players. We're going to talk about how people should think about spacing, and we're going to look at how both players try to cover each other's landings.
Yeah, this is Regerets. Yes, this is Regerets. A flat stage?
Okay, so the first neutral interaction that happens in the game is that Regerets chooses to run in and shield, and chooses to do a walling fair, which is intended to catch a running attack. Now, Regerets does deserve a hit after this, but he lets go of shield, and Cheese gets a punish. After this first fair, Cheese has enough frame advantage that he can, if he does a second aerial, he can force Regerets to either do an air dodge or a double jump. In this case, he chooses to do a fair, which catches the double jump out. In this scenario here, Regerets has a couple of options. One is to drift backwards and hope to get to ledge, or do a low recovery. Two is to air dodge directly onto the stage, and three is to try and land with an aerial. The thing about this up air, and this applies to a lot of options in advantage state, many options that you pick when you're covering your opponent's landings cover multiple options. For example, this up air covers Regerets trying to drift away and go for a low recovery, and it also covers him attempting to go to ledge. So even though this isn't a true combo, this is still, in a sense, guaranteed, because Cheese guesses correctly on how Regerets chooses to land.
And they're Pokemon, so like, it works! It works, alright! It's a Pokemon battle, let's go! Let's go, Peachy! I'm going for that dash attack with a bear.
I don't think I had much to say about this.
It's always...
Okay, so...
So much damage. Oh! Not getting the jab lock! Was too far! For Pichu.
There's not much I want to talk about right here.
A little bit. Just a little bit. Just a bit. Okay. So we have a ledge situation.
Huh, nice roll read. Okay, let's talk about this.
Okay. So we have a ledge situation right now.
Right here, Cheese, at this point, Cheese has already reacted to the double jump, and Greninja does a shuriken to stall himself in the air, and Cheese commits to hard reading an aerial from Regerets. As you can see, he's already started charging it before Regerets has even thrown out the aerial. It pays off. We could talk about how Cheese could have chosen to cover Greninja's options. Greninja could have also, like I said a while ago, drifted away, or air dodge, and the forward smash covers the neutral air dodge, and as well as this aerial. It's another example of how choosing one option as the person who's sharking the other one covers multiple options. That's why it's really hard to land in Smash Ultimate. Okay, so right here, Regerets chooses to dash in and then dash out, which beats Cheese's attempt to fair here because Greninja gets the pivot grab. He then goes for down throw fair, which, although it's not true, just like the Pichu's fair example, it has enough frame. The down throw has enough frame advantage on it that he can force out either an air dodge or a double jump. And if Greninja covers options correctly, he can still score a follow-up hit. Just like here. Now the thing about this is that Cheese does a down air from very high up. This is a down air that Regerets had a good amount of time to react to with an up smash. The thing about aerials when you're trying to land is that if you do them from too high up, your opponent can simply react to them even before they've chosen to do something. Normally, if you're trying to land with an aerial, you'd have to do it closer to the ground. But this opens you up to being hit by double jump aerials. I think this is what Cheese was predicting that Regerets would do.
Getting an early kill on Greninja. Oh boy.
So he thought that Regerets might go for a double jump back air or something of the sort here, and so he chose to place out an early hitbox. Of course, it gets beaten by not going for it, and it's an easy reaction for Greninja from there. There are a couple of mix-ups that you can apply when your opponent's trying to land on you. One of which is to either wait and or double jump, or the mix-up between waiting and double jump aerial. And another one is to try and cover your opponent's drift. I'll get into that a little later. Okay, there was something I wanted to talk about here. Normally, people think of good spacing as staying at or using the maximum range of your hitboxes to try and stay as far away from your opponent as you can, such that if they do something punishable, you could get a punish. The problem with thinking about spacing that way is it assumes that the player who is quote-unquote spacing his opponent out is always in control of the distance between him and his opponent. This only works when this train of thought, or this way of thinking, only works when both players are playing from outside unreactable threat range the entire match. Now, when you're playing from inside unreactable threat range, the concept of how spacing applies to the neutral game changes. Because you can't react to the spacing of your opponent's moves. Here's an example. Cheese attempts to go for an air to cover ledge jump, I suppose. He doesn't quite get it. He doesn't quite get the read. But Cheese, in this scenario, has two options. One is to drift towards, and one is to drift away. Regerets will not be able to react to the spacing of this nair, and as such he's going to have to guess where he's going to go. Cheese chose to drift backwards, and Regerets expected that he was going to drift a little more forward, so he tries to go for the whiff punish. But his whiff punish attempt ends up whiffing because Cheese drifted backwards, and so Cheese gets his own whiff punish. People might look at this and say that was bad spacing on the dash attack, when in reality, it was just a spacing mix-up that happened because both players were playing from inside unreactable threat range. This is kind of why I don't really believe in the concept of spacing your opponent out, because that only works when both players are outside unreactable, and I believe that the neutral game should be played from inside unreactable threat range, where you can mix up the spacing of your moves.
Yeah, but it's a baby! This one's a fully evolved Pokemon!
That might be kind of confusing. If you have any questions, just let me know.
I believe.
Wonder if there's something I needed to talk about here. There probably was.
But it's a baby! This one's a fully evolved Pokemon!
Okay.
I believe.
Let me just review my notes for a second. Okay, yeah, right, I remember. So, Regerets chooses to do a shuriken right here while he's landing, which allows him to narrowly avoid Cheese's up air. You can use Greninja's neutral B to stall yourself such that moves from your opponent will whiff if they try to go for them. So that's what happened here. A way to beat this, a way to cover this option is to immediately go for a double jump aerial right from the get-go. This is going to punish the shuriken in its head lag. Alternatively, you could just do an empty hop and then continue sharking from there. That's not as guaranteed, but it's also what I'm trying to say is that doesn't cover the shuriken quite as hard as double jump aerial does, but it still gives you a chance to cover the other options your opponent might choose when they're landing. Okay, so here's another example of how one player mixed up the spacing of their move from inside unreactable threat range. In this situation, Regerets chooses to overshoot his dash attack by aiming behind Cheese. It ends up cashing the dash back from Cheese. I think in this interaction, Regerets read that Cheese would dash backwards after he did this aerial. So that explains how the thought process behind it. Okay, let's talk about the follow-up. The up air is true, and the back air, the up air has enough frame advantage that Regerets can force out a defensive option by doing a back air. Similarly to the Pichu's fair example and the Greninja down throw example. Now, Regerets chooses to go for an up smash, which I kind of find a little bit questionable. Although I can see why he went for it. It's big damage, and it worked last time. But the reason it worked last time was because he was able to react to an aerial that Cheese did from really, really high up in the air. Instead, this time he chose to drift backwards. So the up smash completely whiffed. If Regerets wanted to cover Cheese choosing to go for the drift back in this situation, there's a couple of things he could have done. One is to do a double jump aerial, because from this position, Cheese can't really meaningfully drift anywhere in the time that it takes for Greninja to do a double jump up air, for example. Another thing that he could have done was to wait until Cheese was here, and then expected either an aerial or an air dodge, and predict where he's going to drift with it. Similarly to the example that we saw a while ago where Cheese did an air from here and drifted backwards. So those are the two things he could have done instead of the up smash. We also might want to talk about how Regerets might be able to beat Thunderjolt, because he seemed to be having a little bit of trouble with it this game. Every character can short hop or full hop over the Thunder Jolt. And with punish the Pichu in its end leg. Although this Thunder Jolt was kind of done from outside of unreactable threat range. So, never mind. I remember there was another example of it somewhere in this match. We'll talk about it once it gets to that. Okay, so I noticed that Cheese likes to do a lot of ledge traps that are easier to execute and cover fewer options. This forward smash in particular covers neutral getup, ledge hopped aerial, like Regerets did here, and it also covers ledge jump. You see that the double jump halo kind of appears here, so we can assume or suppose that Regerets wanted to go for an aerial here.
What does Pichu have? That! He has a broken F smash. Let me just go ahead and tell you.
Okay, here's the Thunder Jolt that I might have been talking about. Okay, so this Thunder Jolt was definitely chosen from inside Unreactable. Well, kind of slightly outside it, but because they're fast characters, you can kind of slightly expand. How am I trying to phrase this? Unreactable threat range is a little bit bigger when you're dealing with faster characters. In any case, I think Regerets has the right idea of trying to full hop over the Thunder Jolt and then punish Pichu in his end leg. But what he has to do is to commit to hitting Pichu right after the Thunder Jolt leaves. So what I mean by that is right here, Regerets has to, if he reads the Thunder Jolt, which I'm not sure if he did or not, maybe he just reacted to it, but if he wanted to beat the Thunder Jolt outright, he would have had to commit to an aerial at this point, like it right here. He would have jumped over the Thunder Jolt and punished Pichu in its end leg.
Let me just go ahead and tell you, Cheese is popping off at this game. And you know what's so hard about that
Okay.
smash? It's a lingering F smash.
I wonder if there's something I wanted to say here. Not really.
Stays there. It's like it's F smash. It's a lingering F smash. It stays there.
Here's an example of somebody mixing up their drift while they're trying to land. Cheese was kind of expecting Regerets to drift backwards instead of towards, and he goes for a dash in and to try to get the whiff punish on the aerial that he expected. But Regerets actually drifted towards Pichu and ended up landing on the other side of him. This is something that you can't really react to, like I said.
It's like it's gonna eat your soul. It's gonna eat your soul if you try to do a normal get up from ledge. Oh, it's there. Oh. It's there. You want to recover? Oh no, I'm gonna F smash you. Oh, it's there.
I'm kind of blanking out. I need to remember what I wanted to say about this match. I don't really think there's much to talk about yet. Not much that pertains to the themes of today's analysis, anyway. So, this is something I wanted to look into, actually. Cheese likes to attempt these ledge trumps, but he ended up missing it. So, what Cheese is trying to do here is instantly grab the ledge and back air, I think. This can be beaten, or Regerets can avoid this by immediately buffering any ledge option. Ooh.
Okay.
So this is something that I abuse a lot. Ledge jump thunder jolt. The thunder jolt is actually stronger while it's midair than when it's bouncing off of terrain. So the strong hit actually knocks you down, and this tech is actually kind of hard to hit. You have to expect to get hit by it if you want to tech it. And if you're getting hit by it, then it's harder to think that you would be expecting it. So a lot of people miss this tech.
Okay. Jab block to F smash. Alright. The classic.
What I'm trying to say is you have to hit the tech by expecting to get hit by the thunder jolt. But if you were expecting a thunder jolt in the first place, then you wouldn't get hit by it. So that's a really common setup that you're going to see from Pichu's. Kill setup, I mean.
I'm so happy as a Yoshi, I was able to do the jab lock to F smash on stream. So yeah, I copied that from Pikachu and Pichu. So oh my goodness. Yeah.
Okay, next game.
Are we gonna
Meme brawler. Oh, by the way, let me know in the comments if this analysis is helping you. I'm not asking you to do that because I want to trick the algorithm into thinking that this video is good and share it to more people. I genuinely want to know if I'm actually helping people. If I'm actually helping people learn about the game. In your comment, tell me what it is that you learned about Smash Bros. Ultimate from watching this video. Because really there's no other way to get feedback. I'd also, in particular, I'd like to hear the opinions of Luke and Justin on this, because, of course, I'm analyzing their match. I could be spreading some misinformation.
It's the comfort pick. Alright, it's the comfort pick. That's sad life, man. This is game.
Okay.
It's game 2 already.
Game 2.
Alright. So we're looking at game 2 at Smash.
Okay. So this situation here, where Cheese chooses to go for an undershot fair, and Regrets chooses to go for a running shield. Is it running shield?
Game 2, it's game 2. Alright. So we're looking at game 2.
Yeah, Greninja goes for a running shield. And this situation happened in the exact same way during stock 1 of last game, so that's cool. A lot of games have a couple of interactions that happen a lot of the times in the set. And it seems like in this game, it's got the handful of interactions that happen commonly are those that happen with Cheese's fair and either Greninja's dash attack or, Regrets' dash attack or running shield. Not sure why he chose to punish with down tilt there. Maybe it's just the fastest thing you can do out of shield. Can't remember if there's something I wanted to say. Okay.
I think this is a good stage for Greninja, just because he could cover the platform.
One thing I notice about this interaction is that it seems like Cheese chooses to go for a fair from way outside unreactable threat range. Look how far the players are from each other. And as soon as Cheese starts dashing, I assume that he's already chosen to go for the fair. All the way in. The problem with that is because he does it from outside unreactable threat range, Regrets is able to react to it, as the name implies. Unreactable threat range implies that you can't react, so when you're outside it, you can. And he chooses to whiff punish it with a nair. This is a pretty solid punish from him too. Nair is one of Greninja's more damaging startups, or combo starters, so yeah. Okay. This wasn't necessarily a true combo, but in this situation here, I think Cheese was expecting that Regrets would not try to go for the air dodge, and so fair covers every other landing option.
Because when you're gonna go ahead and try to combo moves, like let's say the opponent just gets knocked down there, you can just go ahead and try to combo.
Maybe we should talk about ledge trapping for a second. It seems like Cheese likes to go for a lot of preemptive ledge traps, and I guess it works out sometimes. But if you want to do a ledge trap reactively, you're going to have to hit some pretty tight reactions. I think Cheese tries to go for one here because he's doing the shield ledge trap. If you shield at ledge, you can cover a neutral getup with a grab. You can cover a ledge jump with an aerial. You can react to either getup attack or ledge aerial hitting your shield and shield grab that too. And you can react to roll. So essentially, shielding next to ledge allows you to cover every single option from your opponent. The problem is, these are some pretty tight reactions to hit. So you are going to have to prime yourself to reacting to the option that you suspect your opponent is going to pick. What I mean by that is, you can significantly decrease your reaction time to, say for example, a ledge jump if you're already expecting that your opponent is going to do so. So if and when your opponent does something that you're expecting him to do, you'll be able to react to it much faster. And so at this moment, Cheese has to, if he's going to go for the shielding ledge trap and react to everything, he's going to have to expect Regrets' option, and that will allow Cheese to react to it faster. This might sound a little difficult, but you can prime yourself to reacting to multiple ledge options. I know this is possible because Wizzy does it all the time in Melee, when he tech chases someone and they choose to miss their tech. Sorry, that's the only example I can think of. But it's definitely possible.
Platforms, because Pichu wants the lightning loop. Pichu wants a lightning loop.
Exactly, the down B.
Yeah, it just destroys his combos.
Oh, I think in this situation, after Cheese covered the ledge with a Thunder Jolt, he was expecting Regrets to up B straight up, and he goes for like a drop down, double jump down air, but he ends up footstooling Greninja, so that was kind of strange. I feel like if at this moment Cheese had just chosen to go for a short hop down air from ledge, he would have caught Regrets, because he did get the read, I think.
So it's better if it's like a flat stage for Pichu.
He missed that F smash almost connect. But good thing that Regrets hopped out that nair to smash almost connect, but good thing that Regrets, he missed that F smash almost connect, but good.
There are a lot of scramble situations in these seconds of play. That tends to happen when one or both players are, or when both players are not comfortable playing from inside unreactable threat range the entire game. And that's okay, because it really is a hard skill to acquire. It's really hard to practice staying in unreactable threat range. So I suggest that the next time you practice, you make it a point to just stay inside unreactable threat range until you're comfortable with it. And you're definitely going to lose a lot of games trying to practice this. but I tell you, it's worth it.
Exciting loop.
Exactly. The down B.
Yeah, it just destroys his combos. So
Exactly.
it's better if it's like a flat
Oh
stage for
boy.
Pichu.
He missed that F smash almost connect, but good thing that
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like a lot of options that were selected here were just panic
that F
options,
smash almost connect, but good
and that's
thing
okay.
that
There's no problem with that.
Regrets comes out that nair to stop that F smash. Oh boy.
Oh yeah,
That
let's talk about
comes out
Pichu's
that
dash
nair
attack. If your opponent isn't expecting to get hit by a dash attack to Thunder is a really good kill setup.
stop that F smash. Oh boy. Sure enough, that is
Going for the back
Nice
air
read
is
on the ledge jump.
not getting the kill yet because it's pretty early. Oh,
oh
oh,
Greninja. He's
Greninja
getting
getting Thunder
nuts.
Jolted.
Okay.
He
While he's
gets
doing Hydro
nuts.
Pump. Thunder Jolt versus Hydro Pump.
I got
Only
the
in
tilt.
Smash.
That's the tilt I want to see.
There's not much I want to talk
Oh
about yet.
boy.
You got the F tilt.
I
We're
got the
just watching the
tilt. That's the
match.
tilt.
Okay. In this scenario,
Oh
this
boy.
is I feel like one of the scenarios in the game that
Got the F tilt.
I got the tilt.
both players are playing from inside unreactable threat range and choose to do a move in anticipation of their opponents. So Cheese chooses to shield, while Regrets chooses to overshoot a dash attack.
That's the tilt.
It actually ends up crossing up, which is kind of janky. You might have to expect that, but Pichu's Nair covers both sides of
Tilt I
him,
want to see.
so Cheese chooses to go for that out of shield. Pichu's backer is also really good at out of shield to catch cross-up
I don't
attempts.
like that tilt. The only
So one of the main interactions in this game, and the one interaction that has conditioned both players into selecting different options, are Greninja choosing to either running shield or overshoot a dash attack. And in some cases, Cheese will choose to fair, and in some cases, Cheese will choose to shield. That's the main interaction that's been going on in this game.
my only consolation with that tilt is
The reason why I think it's important to identify these handful of interactions that happen in the game is if you manage to adjust to one or two of them mid-match, you can actually swing the game really far in your favor.
that you have to be right beside Pichu.
I talked about this in the last video.
Alright, alright, let me just go ahead and check the Twitch chat. When someone is playing as Inkling Girl, almost every voice. Alright, let me just go ahead and check the Twitch chat. When someone is playing as Inkling Girl, almost every voice.
Was there something I wanted to say here?
Alright, let me
Not
just
really.
go ahead and check the Twitch chat. When someone is playing as
Okay,
Inkling.
so
Alright,
Cheese really likes to go for fairs that are intended to wall his opponents out. Right here, it's kind of hard to see because the camera is shifting right now, but Cheese chooses to do a what I like to call a walling fair, which is intended to catch his opponent running towards him. This is a really common option from Cheese, and I think Regrets chose to go for an overshot dash attack. So
Yeah, it's pretty.
that's an example of how one interaction can, or how one specific scenario evolves over the course of the game because both players choose to pick different options in that scenario.
Pretty woomy.
Alright, it's
Very
pretty
woomy.
woomy, but right now it's woomy and see that Cheese lost his stock, but that ain't gonna matter. Alright, it's
Very.
pretty
I wonder if there's something I wanted to talk about here. Not really.
Yeah, it's pretty woomy.
Alright, it's
Very.
pretty woomy, but right now it's woomy and see that
Okay. Every Greninja player always tells me that Greninja has no out of shield. And I think that's true to an extent, as shown by this example here.
Woomy.
Alright, it's pretty woomy, but right now it's woomy and see
I
that
think
Cheese
Regrets chooses to go for a full hop out of shield, and that gives Cheese an opportunity to wait 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah, Cheese gets to react to this full hop, and try to cover Regrets' landing in some way. Regrets chooses to go for an aerial that's aimed towards the ground, and Cheese can beat this by doing an aerial sooner than him, which he does.
Ain't gonna matter.
So
Regrets.
basically, Anakin, the brother of Regerets.
Cool punish.
Basically, Anakin.
So again, we see this one interaction. In this scenario, Cheese chooses to go for an approaching fair? Yeah, it seems like an approaching fair to me. Regrets goes for the dash back and gets the whiff punish with dash attack. I feel like this is also one of the more common scenarios in the match. True combos into a drag down up air, gets the tech chase. I mean the jab reset, and goes for a down tilt. I'm not really sure what Greninja's punish tree is, and I'd like to ask Luke on his opinion for why he chose to go for the down tilt, because I'd be really interested to hear that. Personally, I would have. I mean, it's easy for me to say that I would have gone for an F smash, but you know, I'm not the player.
The money. So, is he gonna get the money?
Yeah, let's
So
see.
he has Cheese to fight to get that money.
Cheese tries to go for the ledge trump again in this scenario,
To get
but he missed it again.
that money. Tell Luke that Anakin.
Okay, so
To get that money.
I think Regrets was expecting this ledge jump thunder jolt, but or maybe he reacted to it. I don't know. In any case, a way to beat this is just by, as we explained a while ago, jumping over the thunder jolt. Well, not over the thunder jolt. Jumping to meet Pichu in the air before or as he's throwing the thunder jolt and hitting him with a move. So if right here, Greninja or Regrets had chosen to do like a full hop back air, he could have beat he could have preemptively beat the thunder jolt from Cheese.
Tell Luke that Anakin. Right.
Alright. Anakin wants him to get that money. Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh.
There he goes. There we go. Cheese. That was clean.
Oh boy. Oh.
He finally got the ledge trump.
Okay, get it. The back air and guard again.
And right now we got ourselves a 2-in-1 situation with Cheese on the lead. Sure, Cheese might have
I love how Greninja just goes for dash attack and
situation with Cheese on the lead. Sure, Cheese might have
I love how
A lot of the neutral interactions involve Cheese fairing somehow, either by walling or choosing to go for an approach. And this is no exception. I think it might be important to talk about Regrets' running jab here, because he does it from way outside unreactable threat range. I feel like at this point, when he starts dashing, he's already committed to doing the running jabs. And this is problematic because Cheese recognizes Regrets' aggressive intent, and he's able to react to it with his own walling fair. And this is, I feel like, what players in our scene feel like. This is how players in our scene think, quote-unquote, good spacing rewards you, because when you stay outside unreactable threat range all the time, if your opponent chooses to go for an option, you can react to it. But I don't think that's how the game should be played. I think ideally, neutral should be played from inside unreactable threat range. And this is an example of that.
Indeed.
It's so annoying.
It is annoying, but
It works.
It works. It works. I mean, like I played like
Getting
a bug.
Thunder jolts are fun.
Oh my goodness.
Able to go.
Huh, okay.
It works. I mean, like
That's
I
cool.
played like a
Getting
bug.
thunder jolted again.
Again, we see an example of Regrets choosing to commit to an option from outside unreactable threat range. And Cheese recognizes his aggressive intent and short hops over his down tilt. Or it could have been a dash attack.
Able
Or it could have been a grab. In any case, Cheese's short hop wins, and he gets to land on him with a neutral air.
back on stage.
Good
That is
follow-ups.
very scary indeed. Right now, Greninja getting a lot of damage
Hmm.
right now. Just
Greninja at the same damage as Pichu, basically. And it's one stop ahead.
yeah, and
Let me see if I wanted to talk about anything here. I guess not really.
indeed. It won't
Oh,
even
almost getting the up
almost get the
smash.
up smash.
Pichu just
I
slivering
feel like there
by.
are a lot of scramble situations in
Almost
the
got the
match
Up smash.
where
Pichu just
both
sliver.
players. I think I said this a
Oh,
while
almost
ago, but
getting the up
Almost get the
smash.
up smash.
it applies here.
Pichu just slivering by. Almost
Maybe we
getting
should
the
talk
up
about
The
smash.
up smash.
this. Cheese's attempt to cover this landing. I think again, Cheese was expecting Regrets to try to go for an aerial or an air dodge, anything but the shuriken, and he could have.
Indeed. It won't
Oh,
even
almost
Not
getting
he
the
could
up
have. That's kind of
smash.
not the right phrase. But if he expected Regrets to go for the shuriken, he might have chosen to double jump with an aerial.
Pichu just slivering by.
oh boy. Sure enough, Cheese might lose a stock on this condition.
Oh, I thought he was doing
Yeah, that's
F.
kind of a really scrambly situation.
On this condition.
Oh, I thought he was doing F
Oh
the
boy!
other way, but
He
he got.
got
Anyways, that's kind of all I have to say about the match for now. Let me know if you found this helpful, and I guess I'll see you the next time I decide to. Actually, wait. If you have any requests for sets that you think I should review, let me know. Bye.